Judges. We styled him as a judge and a blank blank. Does anybody know what the blank blank is? A mighty warrior. Yes, a mighty man of valor, a mighty warrior. We're in Judges 6, 17 through 21 today. Judges 6, 17 through 21. In our last lesson, who appeared to Gideon? Who? Yes, an angel. And really, he's referred to as an angel what? Of the Lord. Who was this angel? Oh yes, this angel was most likely the second member of the Godhead, Jesus Christ. Okay, he was deity, and we saw that and studied that somewhat last time. Why did this angel appear to Gideon? What was his purpose for being there? What is it? Why did he come to him? What was the purpose? What do you want Gideon to do? Nothing? All right? Yes. Folks, the children of Israel are in sin. The children of Israel have been overcome by the Midianites. Y'all will get back into this. Every time I take a week off, y'all take 2 weeks off. They've been overcome by the Midianites. They've been in bondage for 7 long years, and now they have cried out to God. They are in repentance, and God is going to send a judge, a deliverer. And the deliverer is none other than Gideon. Here's what the angel said to Gideon. And the Lord said unto him, Surely I will be with thee, and thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. That's verse 16. Folks, there's 2 promises in that passage, isn't there? The first is the presence of the Lord. Surely I will what? Be with you. Is that a pretty powerful promise? Oh yes, I'll be with you. When you go into battle, you're not going alone. When you go into battle, I'm going to be fighting with you. This is only the Almighty God, right? I mean, if you have that kind of power on your side, you shouldn't have much to fear. Okay, so there's the first promise. Notice the second promise. It's victory, is it not? He promised him victory even before the battle's been fought. Notice what he says. And thou shalt smite the Midianites as one man. Midianites were a huge army. Okay, but he said, you'll fight against these men and you'll drop them as if you were fighting against what? Just one person. Okay, so here you are. You've got the presence of God promised to you. You've got victory promised to you. And now we enter into a section, notice what it's titled. The proof given to Gideon. What in the world is that all about? What is that all about? So let's look at these 3 points in this lesson. Number 1, the request by Gideon. And he, that's Gideon, said unto him, that's the angel, If now I have found grace in thy sight, then show me a sign that thou hast talked with me. Depart not hence, I pray thee, until I come unto thee, and bring forth my present, and set it before thee. What did Gideon say? I need a what? I want a sign that you've really talked to me. Now, there's a couple of possibilities that we could talk about. Let me ask you something. Anybody in here ever dreamed a dream that you thought was real? Have you? And you woke up and you were glad that it was just a dream? You know, I've had a couple of those. You know, you wake up and you go, wow, man, I'm glad that thing isn't true. Whew, that was bad stuff right there. Okay? We don't need any confessions of any dreams today. Okay? But I see you've all been there with me. Okay? When God appeared to these individuals, folks, sometimes He came in dreams and visions, right? And so a person who is in the position of Gideon, he may wonder, right? Is this really what? Is this really true? Is this just, something that's, when we wake up out of our dreams, we're glad they're not what? They're not true, right? So, here we are. We're just glad it's not reality. Well, if he comes out of this and he says, this may not be what? This may not be true. So, before the angel leaves, he wants what? He wants proof. Okay, so that even if this were a dream or a vision, that it is a truthful one. Okay, something else that's interesting is this, and because of the way the Bible's written, we don't understand it sometime in its context. Let me ask you this: did God appear to people just every day? No. Folks, God didn't just appear to people every day, okay? Now, you pick up a book like Judges, and you're reading about the 15 judges, and they're conquering, they're going through all these problems. Well, you just hear one judge after another, right? And God's talking to this judge, and He talks to that judge, and He talks to this judge. And it makes it sound as though God's talking to them all the time. Folks, that wasn't the way things happen, okay? It would be years that would pass. And then God would talk to somebody. And then it would be years that would pass, and God would talk to somebody. So all of a sudden, here you are, the one that God is what? Talking to. It wasn't like you were expecting it. Right? Gideon wasn't sitting around saying, I can't wait till God comes and sends His angel and talks to me. All of a sudden, what was he doing that day? Yeah, he was crushing wheat, was he not? Getting in just enough bread, just enough wheat for his family to survive on. And all of a sudden, here's this angel of the Lord telling him, guess what? You are going to deliver the Midianites. Wow. That's pretty big, isn't it? Pretty big. So if this were a real experience, it was a what? Unique one. Okay? And would still be okay to require a what? A sign. Okay? A sign. In order to confirm the truthfulness of this call, Gideon requested a sign. Then show me a sign that thou hast talked with me. Wow, a sign. Notice how he begins, and I style this as the preface. Let's talk about this sign for just a minute, the preface. If now I have found grace in thy sight. Man. Gideon seems to understand that he might be stepping out on a limb, right? Here he is, he's been confronted by an angel. He's been told that the Lord's presence would be with him. He's told that victory is his. And what's he going to do? I'm going to ask for a sign. Boy, you're pretty what? You're pretty bold. You're pretty brazen to be. So what does he start off with? If I have found grace in your sight. You see, he's trying to what? Yeah, he's trying to soften it up just a little bit. Okay? That little word grace there is interesting. It means graciousness, kindness, favor, grace, acceptance. Abraham was told by angelic beings that Sodom and Gomorrah was going to be lit up with fire and brimstone from heaven. Wasn't he? And who lived there? Lot, who was his nephew. Well, folks, guess what? I don't know about you. If I hear that a town where my relative is going to be wiped off the face of the earth, I really don't want that to happen. Right? So what does Abraham do? He begs and he pleads that if 50 can be found, right? 50 righteous souls, you'll spare the city, right? And then he went down to what? 45. Then he went down to 40, 30, 20, 10. Folks, that's a bold man, is it not? But the reason I say that is twice in the asking, here's what Abraham says. Oh, let not the Lord be angry, and I will speak. He knew he was what? He knew he was being bold, didn't he? He knew he was stepping out on a limb. He knew that by, asking for this favor, that this was a big deal. Okay? And in the same manner, Gideon knows it, doesn't it? If I have found grace in thy sight, if I have found kindness and acceptance and mercy in your sight, grant me a what? Grant me a sign. A sign. A lesson we learn is this, folks. Man's request of the Lord can only be granted by the what? By the grace of God. Okay? We need to remember that, don't we? How does the Bible tell us to go before the throne of God? Boldly, doesn't it? Let us go boldly into the throne of grace that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Okay? I have the right to go into the very presence of God with just as much boldness as these individuals did. Isn't that something? I don't have to be scared. He tells me, come with courage, come with boldness, and ask me for whatever you want. But, folks, remember, we are there what? By the grace of God, aren't we? Folks, we need to remember who we're dealing with too, don't we? Jeannie? Well, boldness is the New Testament word for courage. Okay, we read of courage in the Old Testament all the time. You don't read the word boldness in the Old Testament. And then you come to the New Testament and you hear the word boldness. Okay, and all it means is with courage. Okay, come with courage in the sight of God. Jim? Yeah, it's just interesting, how God deals with each person, isn't it? You have Samson's mom and dad. The angel appeared first to Samson's mother, right? And she runs and tells her husband, "Hey, you got to get over here. You got to see this," And so it's all these people are what? All these people are faithful, aren't they? But all of them are what? Humans. Aren't they? They're just humans. Just like who? Just like us. And folks, every one of us, if we were confronted with the angel of the Lord, would we all react differently? Oh, yes. Every one of us would react differently. Sure. And he knew that up until this point, because of where they are, the Lord had not been with them, right? The Lord had separated Himself from them because of their sin. And to think, He's a humble man, isn't he? What did He say? My family is least in Manasseh. Okay? We're poor. I'm least in my family. Who am I to do this, right? You're choosing little old me. If you're going to choose me, then give me what? Give me a sign. That little word sign means this: a signal, evidence. The word is translated miracle in some places in the Old Testament, folks. Okay, a sign, a miracle. Brown Driver and Briggs says it is defined as a signal, a token, proof, a miraculous sign of some sort. Gideon wanted some form of confirmation that this commission really did come from God. The Scripture does not tell us what Gideon was expecting as the sign. All he wanted was a what? Was a sign. Okay? We'll get into this further in just a minute as we go through the text. Notice the question, though, folks. When Gideon asked for a sign, was this a lack of faith on his part? You see? I got yeah, I got sorta, I got... Anybody say no? Nobody? Well, we say that, don't we? You know, we're hard on these people. Okay? Fear. Okay. A big task. Okay, Jim. Yes? Sure. You know, Marion? We're going to come back to it in a minute, okay? But I want you to keep this in mind, okay? Folks, this is spoken words, isn't it? This is a spoken word to this individual. Here he is, he's just out doing his thing, and then all of a sudden the angel of the Lord appears to him. It's just a spoken word, isn't it? There's nothing written down. It's just a spoken word to him. Let me ask you something. Have people in the past requested signs from God? Yeah. You know, Moses, when he was called, he looked at God and he said, well, he didn't look at God, but he looked at that burning bush as he talked to it, and he says, they're not going to believe me. And remember what God said? What is that in thy hand? And what was it? A staff. What did he tell him to do? Throw it down. It became a what? It became a serpent, did he not? He told him, put your hand into your robe. And he did. And he pulled it out and it was what? Leprous. He said, put it back again. And it came out totally clean. Here's a man that was wanting a sign so that when he went to the children of Israel, they would what? They'd believe him, right? We've talked about Thomas. Did Thomas require proof of the resurrection? Yeah. Except I see what? The print of the nails in his hand, and thrust my hand into his side, I will what? Not believe. We have been too mean to Thomas. You know that? We've been too mean to Thomas. Just labeling. Doubting Thomas. Folks, a week before, guess who didn't believe? None of them did. And Jesus shows up in the midst of them, and guess what He shows them? My hands. And so they believe. They have the proof. And so they believe. Thomas wasn't there. He didn't have the what? The proof. So he didn't believe. He was in no different boat than they were a week before. And all he wanted was what? Proof. God exists. Right? Got one elder said yes, and the other one was kind of shaking his head that way. So at least the leadership agrees with me. God exists. Well, guess what? Guess what God didn't do? Folks, God did not leave Himself without what? Witness. Did He? God did not leave Himself without witness. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Folks, we don't live a faith that is a blind leap in the dark. There is evidence for what we're doing. There's evidence for what we believe. Okay? And isn't that all that Gideon is wanting? I just want a little what? Evidence. I just want a sign that this is you really talking to me? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Bank always wants a deposit, don't they? What you laugh at? Now notice what he says though. See, this is what's weird, isn't it? First of all, he wants a promise from this man. Depart not hence until I what? Until I come unto thee. Don't you leave till I what? Get back. You promised me you're not going anywhere. Now, what he's about to do going to take a little time? We'll talk about that in a second too. But notice what else he tells him. He talks about his present. And bring forth my present and set it before thee. Wow. That little word present can indicate one of two things, folks. Okay? If Gideon thought that this is deity, the word present here would indicate a what, do you think? A sacrifice. Okay? You wait here until I go get my sacrifice together. If Gideon thought that this is just a man, but it's a man sent from whom? It's a man sent from God. He's going to bring him back a present. Okay? That present is what? What do you think that is now if he thinks he's just a man? Anybody? Look at point B. If he believed he was just a man, it would be given as entertainment in order to refresh a respectable stranger. Okay? Notice that note below that. One commentator noted that if the guest actually ate the food, it would confirm to Gideon that what was happening was something what? Real. Okay? If the man could sit there, if I prepare a lamb and if I prepare bread and I bring drink and this man sits there and he actually eats that food and he actually drinks that drink, he has to be what? He has to be real. Okay? So, was that what was in Gideon's mind as the what? As the proof. As the confirmation. Okay? I need a sign here. If you eat this food, I'll know that you're real. If you don't eat this food, then I'll know what? This is just a dream that I've been in, and I just need to discard this thing. Okay? Very, very interesting. Notice the recognition of the request. And he said, I will tarry until thou come again. Man. Folks, the angel agreed to remain until Gideon returned. Notice the note. Anytime there was no written revelation about a matter, the Lord was never upset with a person asking for some type of affirmation or confirmation. If there was written revelation, then no sign or miracle was needed by the individual. Remember when the rich man died and went into torments? What was the first thing he wanted? He had two requests of Abraham. What's the first one? Yes, just a drop of water from the finger of Lazarus to cool my tongue. Nope, that can't happen. Isn't that right? Lazarus can't come over there. There's a big gulf here. Nobody can pass between us. So what was his second request? Yes. Father Abraham, I have 5 brethren who are still alive. I want you to send Lazarus back and warn them not to come to this place. Folks, listen to me. If you have any relatives who are lost in torments right now, are you ready? They don't want you there. You know that? They don't want, they will do anything in their power for you not to come there. And that's what this man was trying to do, wasn't he? Now, here's what's interesting. Did Abraham grant the request? No. Why? They have Moses and the who? Folks, they had the Old Testament. They had written revelation from God to man to know what to do to be pleasing to God. Let them hear who? Moses and the prophets. Don't you go around today praying for a sign from God. Because guess what God is not going to give you? He ain't going to give you some sign today. You want to know why? We have written revelation from God to man right here in this book. We have the New Testament. You don't need a sign. You need to get in the book and do what God tells you to do. That's what you need to do. You know, everybody's walking around, oh God, just give me a sign. Give you nothing. Give you a New Testament and you start reading it. Okay, because that's the Lord's will. Yes, ma'am. What's that? It does hurt. Think how God, think about God, you know, and God's, you know, where He is, you know. Everything He's done for humanity, giving His Son, and His offer goes out on a regular basis, and look how few people respond to it, right? It's sad. There's no doubt about it. And it hurts when individuals don't take advantage of the situation. It's extremely sad for certain. Notice the next point. He readies the meal. He prepares a kid. Okay, now that's not a child. Okay, that's a what? Goat. Yes, you know, when I used to work at a restaurant, sometimes we served dolphin. Okay. And you'd walk up and they say, what's the special tonight? We serve dolphin. Everybody thought what? Flipper. No, we're not serving flipper. Okay? It's another kind of dolphin. Okay? We're serving a kid here, but it's a different kind of kid. Okay? It's a goat. Okay? Can you imagine? Did these people have to be masters at the preparation of food? Yes. You know, here's a man comes to your doorstep, and what do you have to do? You got to go kill it, dress it, cook it, and get it ready. Folks, it takes a little time, doesn't it? Women, aren't you glad for freezers and frozen food? You know? And microwaves, yes. You know? But notice that the last point said He presented it unto him. Folks, that little word presented unto him, it can be used in one of two ways. As a what? As an offering to God, or what? Or as simply setting something before someone to eat. Either way it's used in the Scripture. Now notice this next point, the requirements of the angel. And the angel of God said unto him, take the flesh and unleavened cakes and lay them upon the rock and pour out the broth. Now see, I don't know that this is what Gideon was expecting. Do you? I just thought he would eat the food, and if he ate the food, I'd know he's real. Oh no. You get all that stuff and you put it over there on that rock over there and you pour that broth out. He may have poured that broth even on top of all that stuff. Okay? Now notice this next point. And he did so. The resignation of Gideon. Folks, when God tells you to do something, just what? Just do it. Don't balk. Oh man, I spent 3 hours cooking this kid, fixing this bread. He brought the broth for you to dip it in. And you just want me to pour it out? Put it on that old dirty rock? Oh man. That's the way some of us would be. You know, I'll just take my goodies and go home. No. And he what? And he did so. He did exactly what the angel told him to do. Just do it is good advice when it comes to the commands of God, isn't it? Judges 6:21a. And the angel of the Lord put forth the end of his staff that was in his hand, and touched the flesh and unleavened cakes. And there rose up fire out of the rock, and consumed the flesh and the unleavened cakes. Wow. Well, just grab that staff. Up it goes, gone. Dude, where you want me to go? Where's that? Where's Gideon? You know? You're talking about a sign. Unbelievable. I wrote down these 3 lessons, folks, down there. God never leaves Himself without a witness. When man needs proof, God is willing to provide the proof. Remember we talked about Thomas? Thomas said, I want to see what? I want to see the prints. The very next week, he was in the room, Jesus shows up, and guess what Jesus does? Thomas, I can't believe you didn't believe these other guys. I cannot believe that you didn't listen to their testimony. No, he walks over to him, he says, hey Thomas, touch my hands. Put your hand in my side. What did he do? He gave him the proof he needed. Jesus never ridiculed Thomas for wanting what? Proof. He never did. What's that? Heard every word he said, absolutely. Here's another point that I put down there, folks, and you can read that verses in John 10. Sometimes proof God offers is still not enough for man. Folks, Jesus came to this earth and He gave tons of proof that He is deity, that He was the Son of God. And guess what the Jews did? They rejected every bit of it, didn't they? Every bit of it. And the angel of the Lord departed out of His sight, the retreat of the angel. Folks, what were angels for? Messengers. Once they did their job, guess what they did? They went home. Okay? They went home. And that angel had done his job, hadn't he? He gave the message, confirmed it with a sign, and he went home, didn't he? Good stuff. We'll talk about the next section next week. If you want to know what the next section is, it's on your first lesson. I gave you a list of all the sections that we'll be talking about. So that's where it is.